君には何が見える？敵は何だと思う？すまない。変なことを聞いたな。
So let's say hypothetically, Erwin got revived instead of Armin. That would also mean, hypothetically, that Erwin would be the Colossal Titan. And so hypothetically, that would lead me to believe that Eren would have destroyed the world and there would be no reason for this thanks Levi for reviving Armin instead of Erwin. It's alright, let's just not talk about that right now. Let's not go there because my opinion on Armin versus Erwin getting revived is about as fleeting as the word final in Attack on Titan. Another scene. Okay, but in all honesty, Armin getting revived was pretty realistic. Like, I'm not, let's move on, Let's talk about the main Sigma male, stoic leader, hype machine, Erwin Smith. This man is the GOAT of Attack on Titan. What a legendary character. The fact that he got thrown out of the series during season 3 was just devastating. If this guy was there in season 4, then we would not be sitting here with season 4, part 3, part 1, and part 2. We would be done at part 1. This man could convince me of all people, that Demon Slayer was a good anime and I would believe him. Now when it comes to being a good leader, it's important not to give a shit about the current situation unless you don't care about the morale of your squad. You see, if you're under a stressful situation and you're the leader and you show some kind of emotion, you best believe that your entire squad is going down the drain. The whole thing is done. Your dudes are gonna get eaten by titans and you're done for life. No matter the situation, Erwin always stayed calm and collected. There wasn't many instances in the series where this guy showed much emotion. The only real time I can think of would be the return to Shiganshina scene. I mean, this guy, literally, a whole titan arm was thrown right at him and he didn't even flinch. The armored titan was sitting on the wall and this guy didn't even flinch. Like, he did not care at all. Now he had to stay this way. He had to stay stoic, calm, collected all the time under these stressful situations because he knew that as the leader, if he buckled under the stress, his whole squad would be done. I mean, this guy is the whole reason why humanity was able to make it through season 1 alone, let alone 3, 4 seasons even. The best example of him not giving a fuck in the entire series. Okay, yeah, we get it now. So this man gets his arm bitten off and he doesn't even feel it. Imagine what would have happened if Erwin acted like he was about to die in this situation. What do you think would have happened? Well, obviously his entire squad would have been running away from the situation until they found themselves running down a titan's esophagus. The hype machine that is Erwin Smith could not be rivaled in terms of his leadership because of the fact that he literally did not care about his own life. He only had one goal, and that was to achieve his dream of finding the basement. That was pretty much it. He didn't even care about humanity. He didn't even care about his soldiers. He sold them a lie. But even then, he continued to push forward and push his allies to advance further. While Levi provides in his fighting ability, Erwin provides in his ability to lead and inspire, which is obviously a huge magnitude because Levi can just Beyblade around titans and Erwin can basically Beyblade around words. But in a world as devastating as Attack on Titan, how can a character like Erwin, being the commander of pretty much the only military in the entire story up until season 4, how can he not be scared of anything? How can he not be nervous of his entire squad being destroyed, of his position being taken? Like, how can he not care about these things? What is it that stands in Erwin's eyes as greater and stronger than everything else? Let's compare two characters here, okay? I wasn't even planning to do this in this video, but it popped into my head, so let's do it. Erwin and Griffith, they're two characters that, if you really look at it, have a lot of similarities. It's a little scary. I'm gonna have to run up to Isayama and ask for MLA citation. Both Erwin and Griffith are leaders of very big militaries. Griffith's the leader of the Band of the Hawk, which is the most renowned military in the kingdom at the time, and Erwin is of course the leader of the Survey Corps, which is the strongest and only military pretty much in Attack on Titan. Because let's be honest, the military police are kind of useless. What keeps these two so strong and so ahead of everybody else and so valiant and fearless is their dreams. When people have dreams, especially in anime it's a different story. When people have dreams, there's pretty much nothing else that matters, especially when they dream to the magnitude of these two characters. When everything you live for is predicated on a single thing, fear almost becomes pointless until you are faced with your dream. This is why when Griffith is faced with his choice at the eclipse, he does feel some sort of emotion and fear. This is why during Return to Shiganshina, Erwin did show some emotion, because at this point, he knows that his dream is right in front of him, but he knows that he also might not make it because he's missing an arm, and because, you know, he's up against 3 insane titans and a whole army. Erwin isn't a shallow character in the slightest. Even in the first and second season, you can make the argument that he doesn't really have much behind him. But once you get to the third season, this is where Isayama brings all his characters up into the spotlight, especially Erwin and Levi. And Erwin, through the entire fight on Shiganshina, when they're trying to take back the wall, demonstrates why he is one of the best written characters in the entire story by far. His character is flawlessly built from his first appearance to his last. Even though, again, in his first few appearances, we don't know much about him. This is just a perfect way to build a character, especially with the foreshadowing around him. Him just being a stoic machine, just continuously persuading his soldiers to continue fighting in this insane world. Do you know how much motivation you would need to go up against a titan? Erwin gives it to everyone in his army. It's insane. Erwin's one of the few characters that has his own outstanding dream. Armin is another one of those characters, and if you can kind of tie in the parallels between the two, it makes a lot of sense. And it's very cool how Isayama contrasted these two and still brought back Armin. Now, what's very interesting and very important about Erwin's character is that his dream was never about humanity. It had nothing to do with the advancement of humanity. A lot of these characters are fighting in the military because they want to see humanity prosper. Eren is there in the military because he wants to save his people and destroy the Titans. A lot of the other people, like Levi, are there to destroy the Titans and have humanity prosper. Erwin is one of the very few characters who doesn't care about humanity. Armin may also be one of them, but Erwin especially. And this is very heavily emphasized during Return to Shiganshina. That arc is all Erwin's arc, man, I swear. And that's why it's like one of the best arcs in the entire story, and all of shonen, and all of manga and anime, pretty much. His entire presence as a leader was predicated on a lie. The fact that he became fearless and driven towards his dream wasn't because of saving humanity. It was because of seeing the basement, seeing what is inside of the basement from all those years ago when he was a child and asked his father the question if there were people beyond the walls. He doesn't push people onwards for the same collective reason like a real leader does. He sold them a lie. He told them that if they dedicated their hearts, their lives would not be in vain. And yet when they died, Erwin did not feel any emotion for them. He didn't care for them. There wasn't really anyone he bonded with very closely. People would die left and right around him, but he would not care because his dream did not lie with humanity. It was a completely different dream. And so after having killed all of these people, this tower of corpses piles up, and he stands on this pile of corpses because it was because of him that all of these people died. These people believed that if they sacrificed their lives, their sacrifices would not be in vain. They would be for the success and the prosperity of humanity. But that was not Erwin's intention the entire time. They pretty much died for Erwin's selfish dream. As I said, Tower of Corpses, and as I said, Griffith and Erwin's connections, they both had towers of corpses. And you see what I'm saying here? Like, it is very peculiar how both these authors wrote the characters, and even though one of them is an antagonist and one of them is part of the main cast, they still have very similar character writing, and they're both absolutely brilliant.
あの勇敢な死者を、哀れな死者を思うことができるのは聖者である我々だ。我々はここで死に、次の聖者に意味を託す。それこそ唯一この残酷な世界に抗う術なのだ。兵士を怒れ、兵士を叫ぶ、兵士を叩け。
This is the peak of Erwin's character. As I said, a lot of the people sacrifice their lives for Erwin's selfish dream without even knowing it. Here is when their sacrifices are not in vain. This is the whole culmination of Erwin's entire character and the deaths of all the people in his squad and all the people under his command. In Erwin's final moments, he's forced to let go of his dream and die. This is literally what Levi tells him, and to be honest, because of his dream, he was led into this hell. Because he was so desperate to find the basement, he advanced humanity this far and brought them to this moment and brought his own death upon himself. For the first time, Erwin chooses to dedicate his heart to humanity here because he realizes and becomes aware of the numerous sacrifices that people made for him and his troops to be here in this moment. With so many of these people dying under his command, it's hard to understand why all these people did it. Why did they sacrifice their lives? What was the meaning, the weight in their lives? Erwin probably never quite understood this fact until this moment. In this moment, he understands that the purpose of these people's existence, the reason people in Attack on Titan live in the first place in this cruel and destructive world, was not because of what they did in their lives. It was because of the meaning and the trust and memory that their comrades have in them in death. And that is exactly what Erwin tells his troops, and that's exactly why their troops charge into the death, into literal death. Everyone dies except Flock, which is crazy. In these final moments, Erwin defines the existence and the purpose of life in Attack on Titan. He puts his goal to the side and chooses humanity for the first time, and it leads to one of the most important sacrifices in the entire story. Instead of having people's lives be of use to his own dream, he doesn't sell them a lie. He breaks the lie that he sold the people and instead does allow their sacrifices to be of use to humanity. That's exactly why Erwin Smith is the GOAT of Attack on Titan, and why this guy is one of the best developed characters, not only in Attack on Titan, but of any story really in manga that I've personally read. And so in his final moments, Erwin leads one of the most badass charges ever, not for the sake of his own dream, but for the sake of the prosperity of humanity, like a real leader would do. Even when he's about to get revived, he rejects the vial and chooses the prosperity of humanity over his own dream. He gives up on his dream and dies, just like Levi said. And so I conclude my point and my video at that. Erwin Smith is one of the greatest characters to ever be written in anime, and definitely one of the best in Attack on Titan. I have a lot of respect for the amount of discipline and stoicism this man was able to show throughout the seasons. Let me know your thoughts on the character of Erwin and on the video in general, and I do appreciate you sticking around this far. And this is why Erwin Smith is the GOAT of Attack on Titan.